Hey, welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into the story of one of the most important inventions ever, the book. We're going to follow its incredible journey all the way from its ancient roots to the device that might be in your hand right now.
Okay, let's jump right in. To really get this, you've got to picture a world with no books at all. I mean, how did our ancestors save their stories, their ideas, their discoveries? How did they stop them from just vanishing?
You know, this need we have to record things, it's as old as we are. Long before the first page was ever turned, we were finding some pretty clever, if not always practical ways to leave our mark. So our story starts with some huge efforts. We're talking 40,000 years ago, with stories literally painted onto cave walls. Then you fast forward to Mesopotamia, where people were painstakingly carving laws and records into heavy clay tablets. After that, ancient Egypt gave us a big upgrade with papyrus scrolls. They were lighter, sure, but still a really long way from the book we think of today.
And just think about trying to use one of these things. To find one little bit of information, you had to unroll the entire scroll. They were fragile, a pain to carry around, and you could only read them in order. It was a real bottleneck for spreading knowledge.
So how do you fix a problem like that? Well, enter the Romans. They came up with this absolutely brilliant innovation that solved these issues and gave us what was essentially the first true book, the Codex.
Look, this wasn't just a small step up. The Codex was a total game changer. All of a sudden, you had random access. You could just flip to any page you wanted, instantly. It held way more information, it was a lot tougher, and it was so much easier to carry. It was, well, revolutionary.
And the design was so simple, right? Just stack up some sheets and bind them together. Now you could write on both sides. But this little change did something huge. It actually changed how we interact with information. For the very first time, you could easily cross-reference things, compare ideas, and follow a complex thought. The book wasn't just holding information anymore, it was helping us organize it.
And that really proves a powerful point. The container for our ideas can be just as important as the ideas themselves. The Codex was so effective, so intuitive, that its basic design is still with us. I mean, think about it. A tablet or an e-reader is pretty much a digital codex.
Okay, so the Codex gave us the perfect format. Awesome. But there was still a huge problem. It was made from parchment, which is basically animal skin. It was super expensive and took forever to make. If the book was ever going to be for everybody, it needed a cheaper, better material.
And that solution, of course, was paper. It was invented way back in China, around 105 AD. But, and this is wild, it took a full 1,000 years for that technology to travel along the Silk Road and finally make it to Europe. When it got there, though, it set the stage for the next massive leap forward.
All right, let's recap. We've got the perfect format with the Codex, and we've got the perfect material with paper. All the ingredients are there. The world was just waiting for one final invention to completely unleash an explosion of knowledge like nothing we'd ever seen before.
And that final piece arrived in the year 1440. A German inventor named Johannes Gutenberg was about to change the world forever.
Yeah, this was it. This was the moment, the tipping point when information broke free from the castles and the monasteries and started making its way into the hands of regular people.
So what Gutenberg did was actually pretty genius. He took existing technologies, like a wine press and methods for casting metal, and combined them to create a system of movable type. So instead of a scribe spending months copying one book by hand, a machine could now do the work with incredible speed and accuracy.
And the difference in speed was just staggering. In the time it took one scribe to copy one book, Gutenberg's press could churn out around 3,600. This wasn't just an improvement. This was a revolution on a whole different scale.
And the consequences of this were massive. It changed everything. Suddenly, knowledge wasn't just for the wealthy and powerful anymore. This flood of accessible information is what directly fueled the great movements that built our modern world: the Renaissance, the Reformation, and the scientific revolution.
So, the printing press is humming, books are becoming common, and now the book starts to evolve again, becoming an even more accessible part of everyday life.
For a long time, books were still mostly these durable, expensive hardcovers. But then came the invention of the cheaper, portable paperback. That created a true mass market. A book was no longer just a precious object for a library, it was something you could buy easily and stick in your pocket.
And this had huge knock-on effects. When books are cheap and everywhere, what happens? More people learn to read. Literacy rates shot up, and this led to the creation of one of the greatest institutions we have, the public library. A shared space where anyone,
no matter how much money they have, can access all of the world's knowledge. It's just incredible.
Which, of course, brings us right up to today. We are living through another huge transformation of what a book even is. A completely new chapter is being written right now.
With the arrival of the e-book and devices like the Kindle, something really fundamental shifted. The information, the story itself, was finally separated from any physical object. An entire library could now fit right in the palm of your hand.
So, naturally, this kicked off the big, dramatic question we've all been hearing for the last decade or so. Is this the end of the line for the printed page? But it turns out the answer is way more interesting than a simple yes or no. It's not about extinction, it's about evolution. Print sales are still really strong, while digital offers this amazing convenience. It seems the story of the book isn't about one thing replacing another, but about having more choices than ever before.
And really, when you look back at this whole journey, that's the real story, isn't it? The book has never been a single static thing. It's a technology that has constantly adapted to what we need it to be. It went from clay to scroll to codex to print, and now to pixels on a screen. It has always found a way to carry our stories. Which leaves us with a final, fascinating question to think about. What will its